Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 1 year anniversary episode 52 of the Drop It podcast. I can't believe it's already been a year since our first episode. This podcast has become one of the largest weight loss podcasts in the world, and I wouldn't have been able to do this without the support of each and every single one of you in listening to the last 51 episodes and relating and sharing and learning. And it just means the world that y'all have given me this platform to be able to come on here and share my story. So thank you. I'm very grateful for all of you here with the 1 year anniversary of the Drop It podcast. If it's your first time listening to this show, welcome. I'm your host, Nick Geoppo, and 5.5 years ago, I lost 110 pounds after a lifetime of losing weight and gaining it back on every single diet that you, me, or anyone in the world has ever heard of, ever tried, or ever considered trying to lose weight. I have something really special in store for all of you for the 1 year anniversary, and it's the full story of what exactly I did to get so fat in the first place, and what specifically, literally step by step, I did to lose the 110 pounds and actually keep it off this time for what has been almost 6 years. So if you're not familiar with my story, I'd recommend really listening and putting yourself in my shoes and understanding that, and you will understand through this episode, that all of us that are fat, all of us that are fat as fuck, the way that I was my whole life, are going through the same fucking thing again and again and again, and starting and quitting and feeling like we can't, and then not believing that we can, and then restart on Monday, and then restart, and then it's just this cycle of being consumed by the idea and the thought that I should be losing weight, and why aren't I losing enough weight, and am I going to keep the weight off? Probably not, because I didn't before. Repeat. The best part of weight loss is that when you actually put it behind you, not just when you lose weight, but when you lose weight and keep it off in a way that's not obsessive, in a way that's not restrictive, in a way that doesn't suck and doesn't require a lot of mental effort, it's that you get rid of all of that noise, all of that mental energy that you're putting towards, I should be doing this thing, all of that lens. You see the world right now through the lens of your own obesity and your own discomfort in your body. And when you work through that, you become so much more aware of everything that's happening around you, and things just start happening, and they're great, and you deserve to feel that, and you can. And here's how I did it, and here's how you can do it as well. Happy 1 year anniversary to all of the original Drop It podcast and Drop It fam listeners. Welcome to episode 52. My story starts when I was a kid. So my parents got divorced when I was very young, and I grew up in a household where nutrition was not a priority. No one in my family knew anything about healthy eating. I grew up in a fat family. And when I was 14, my dad left. So it was just me and my mom and my sister, our 3 female dogs, 3 female cats, and a female rabbit. So I was literally the only dick in the house for the majority of my life, and really grew up eating just very typical American diet, the way that a lot of you have, right? McDonald's cinnamon rolls for breakfast, lots of fast food, a lot of microwave meals, pizza rolls with chips, with sugary cereal, with sugary granola bars and fruit snacks and fruit juice, and I never ate any fruits or vegetables my entire life. Like, so much so that I had my first banana when I was 23 years old, to give you an idea of how nutritionally deficient I was as a kid. And I was just always this chubby kid. I sucked at everything that I did. I was the JV C team equivalent athlete that never started in anything and would just come off of the bench when we were either up by so much that we couldn't lose or down by so much that it didn't really fucking matter. But if there was ever anything on the line or any stakes in the game, I would not be in the game. I just kind of sucked at everything that I did. And when my dad left when we were 14, when I was 14, I coped with that through video games. So I started playing, and it's so funny talking about video games on this podcast because it's such a boyish thing. This was so long ago, I can't even imagine playing a video game now, but this was really instrumental in my story. And so many of us that are dealing with obesity have very similar stories, just with different sorts of addictions. But my coping mechanism for not knowing what the fuck was happening in my household and all the negativity that I was feeling was just playing video games. So I started playing a few hours each day on the computer with people that I'd never met in person, and it turned into more and more and more time, and I got really, really good. And it was the first time that I had ever been good at anything, because my whole life I'd been this fat, chubby kid that just sucked at everything that I ever did. So what I was really actually hooked on was this idea of being great at something, and I started recognizing that the more time I put into something, the more effort, the better that I got at the thing. And for 4 years, all through high school, from 14 to 18, I played almost 2,000 hours per year of video games, which is about a full-time job in addition to being a high school student, to give you the level of hours that I was sitting down on my ass and eating microwave meals and getting fast food instead of ever eating any healthy food and never moving. And by the time that I turned 18, I graduated from high school. It's about 190 pounds, 6 foot tall, not a fat guy, just a chubby guy. You could push me over with your pinky and I couldn't do a single push up, but you'd never look at me and be like, that guy's fat. And I really wanted to have the full college experience. I'm like, I want to go to college and get a girlfriend. I want to go to college and party and drink alcohol. And I never did any of these things when I was in high school because I was so consumed with the other stupid shit that I was doing and wasting my time. And I went off to college and I quit video games entirely. I just sold my computer and went off to school. And by the time I got to college as an 18-year-old, I started having a lot of free time. I had never actually had free time before because all of my time was consumed by me coping with my now addictive gaming habit that I had developed over the years, but I didn't have that anymore. So I coupled that free time that I had paired with unlimited access to a cafeteria, paired with me never eating any fruits or vegetables literally ever one time in my entire life and only eating bullshit food for my entire existence up until this point. And I started going to the cafeteria and just eating bullshit the same way that I had been my whole life. And then I look up at the end of the school year and I'd gone from 190 pounds to 240 pounds. I gained 50 pounds in my freshman year in college. And I go home from college that summer, and I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, well, realistically, if I wasn't fat and if I felt better, I would have had a way better college experience. So I'm going to lose some weight because everything I'm looking for is on the other side of just not being fat, being the cool guy at the parties, having women that want to spend time with me, like all this shit that I wanted when I was 18 or 19 years old, right? It was all, I felt like I couldn't have it because I was so fat and so insecure and so ashamed of the weight that I had gained that first year. So I'm going to go on a diet. What's a diet? I don't know. I've never really been on one. What's a calorie? How many calories should I eat? Probably not a lot because I want to lose weight really fucking fast, right? So that first summer, I ate mostly just chicken and broccoli with some rice, and broccoli being one of the first vegetables I'd ever eaten. And I lost about 60 pounds that summer, maybe a little bit more. And I came back to the school year at 175, 180. In about 3 months, I lost 60 something pounds and had the best 2 months of my life up to that point, because now I'm the guy that just lost a bunch of weight. And the last time that everybody saw me, I was this really fat, insecure guy that couldn't make eye contact. And now I'm walking around social. There's this aura coming off of me that other people are attracted to and they want to be around. There's this confidence and cockiness and arrogance that came with that at that age for me. But I loved it. And it's the best that I ever felt. And I just did it by eating chicken and some rice with lots of broccoli and, doing some cardio. And that was it. And I went back to the school year, went back to the cafeteria, and I look up 2 months later after having a great time, and I'm 20, 30 pounds heavier, gained another 60 pounds that school year. And every single year, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2018, I lost and gained back over 50 pounds every year on every single diet ever. Keto, carnivore, low carb, if it fits your macros, the chicken, broccoli, and rice diet, intermittent fasting taken to OMAD, a term that didn't exist at the time, 1 meal a day, just ultra restriction, taken to 1 day of eating, 1 day of not eating. I did everything, and everything worked until it didn't. And I realized through this whole journey that the way you lose weight dictates how sustainable your results are, and that if you can't do it for life, don't do it to lose weight, right? So the beginning of the school year, I had a great time. End of the school year, I felt like shit. Summer, I'd lose weight, feeling better. And then I'd have a great 2 months, a horrible 8 months, and then 2 months of losing weight. And I just did that cycle for 5 years. And fast forward to 2018, I graduated from college, and there was not a summer to lose the weight. I graduated at about 250 pounds with no summer. I just went straight into work. And I was working at this job at this recruiting agency for almost a year, hiring for warehouse laborers in northern Idaho that were getting paid $7.50 per hour. And my job was to find as many people to work in these warehouses as laborers as humanly possible. So the way that we did that was by just cold calling all day. So sitting in a cubicle from 7:30 to 5:30, Monday through Friday. So it's 50-hour work weeks, just cold calling, and like hundreds of calls a day. And I did that. And when I would come home, I had got back into playing video games as a 23-year-old, 24-year-old, back to playing video games. And I'm in a relationship with this girl that I'd been with for like a year, but I didn't really want to be with her. I just didn't know what to do, because in my head, I'm like, well, for me to have the kind of relationship that I want with the kind of woman that I want to be with, that woman doesn't want me, because I'm so fat and I'm so insecure in my own body. I don't even like myself. I don't even respect myself, because when I'm looking in the mirror, telling myself that I'm going to lose weight, thinking that this time's going to be different, but I really know that it's not, because I said that every year for the last 5 or 6 years. And it's just, my life fucking sucked. It fucking sucked. I hated my fucking job. I was drowning in student debt. I hated the relationship that I was in. I felt incapable. I hated where I lived. Everything was south. And the idea of changing all of these things at once was so overwhelming. I couldn't even I couldn't conceptualize it at the time. And I go into work one day. I gained quite a bit of weight in the last 6 months after graduating, and I go into work and I sit down in my cubicle, and it's 7:15, 7:30 in the morning, and I'm looking around at everybody older than me, and I just had this moment of real presence where I just tapped into everyone else in the room, and I'm listening to everyone bitching about the traffic on the drive to work and their mortgage payment and this stupid argument they got in with their wife or their husband and their kids this and their parents that, and like the guy from India, the spam caller that called them last night in the middle of the night, and all this shit. And I'm just looking around at misery everywhere. And for the first time in my life, I was like, oh no, I really fucked up. I really put myself in a bad situation. It was like I was looking at my future self and in the misery of all of these other people. And I felt that misery in myself so hard already that I was like, I don't know if I'll even be alive by the time I get to these people's age. And my chest started to hurt. And I started hearing my heart beating, feeling my heart beating out of my eyes. And I just laid down on the floor because I thought that I was going to have a heart attack. It gives me chills sharing this. I thought I was having a heart attack, and I laid down on the floor and I unbuttoned my shirt because my shirt was so tight that it felt like it was going to rip, and I was hyperventilating. I couldn't breathe. And so I'm laying there on the floor in this cubicle, and everyone's surrounding me with my fucking gut hanging out over my pants with a rip in the crotch of my fucking slacks. And I'm going, I'm having a heart attack. I'm having a heart attack. And my boss goes to call 911, and I just flipped out, and then I just left. and got an appointment with my doctor that day. And in hindsight, I didn't know what was happening, but I was actually having a panic attack. I didn't know what that was or what anxiety was at the time. And I go into my doctor who's 325, maybe 350 pounds. And my doctor goes, well, how are you feeling? And I go, well, I hate my girlfriend, I hate my job, and I'm fat, and I don't have shit for money, and I don't know what I'm doing with my life, and, just trauma dump on him, everything that I'm dealing with. And he goes, yeah. Well, it sounds like you're depressed and anxious. You're suffering from anxiety and depression. And that's why you're fat, because you're struggling with anxiety and depression. So what we're going to do is we're going to put you on this medication. And the medication was Xanax. And I'll never forget what it says on the bottle. It says, take twice daily as needed for anxiety. So how often do you think I'm feeling anxiety in the situation that I'm in at this point in my life? Every minute of every fucking day. Because the anxiety is my body's way of telling me that something needs to change, and I'm not addressing the change. So of course I'm going to keep feeling the fucking anxiety, right? So I go home and I think I'm feeling some of that anxiety. Pop a Xanax, wake up the next morning with Rolos, the chocolate caramel candy, smeared all over my chest hair and all over the bed. And I remember laughing. I'm thinking that was funny, and to give you an idea of where I was at mentally. And I wake up the next morning, think I'm still feeling some of that anxiety, call into work, take another Xanax. And I lived in this Xanax bender for like 2 or 3 days of just popping Xanax and skipping work and just laying in bed, not doing anything. And it's not that I felt better. It's that I didn't feel anything at all. Anything at all. And by the third day I don't even think I showered. I was so just out of it. By the third day, I went to get in the shower and I stripped naked in front of the mirror, and I kind of catch my own eye, and I'm like, it was the first time where I didn't recognize who I was, because I was so fucking bloated from whatever shit I ate the night before or the days before, and so strung out. I looked so tired and just so malnourished, so fat and so uncomfortable, so fucking sad. I was so sad and so hopeless. And I'm looking at myself in the mirror, didn't recognize myself, and I just sat there and I stared at myself in the eye. I'd never done that before. And it was the second time I'd ever had a real moment of presence where I was like, you're going to die. You're going to die. And I had this little shitty camcorder that I pulled out, and it was like, in that moment, it was like I saw my whole future of just death and pain and misery. And I pulled this camcorder out and I recorded myself in the mirror with my shirt off. And I said, today's April 29th, 2019, and I'm going to change my life. So here's what I weigh. And I stepped on the scale and I was 274.4 pounds. And then I went into work and left my job and left my girlfriend and moved from Spokane, Washington, which is where I'm from and where I grew up and where I stayed, to Portland, Oregon. And moved out there, just took a different job, overhauled my entire life, stopped talking to everyone that I was talking to besides my family, moved to a city where I didn't know a single person, and I just went into 6 months of isolation, pseudo isolation, where every minute of every day I was by myself unless I was at work. When I was at work, I wasn't talking to people. I was just there to work, and I wanted to be in my own energy. I wanted to lose weight the right fucking way, and I wanted to lose weight for me, not for other people, because I had already lost weight before. So my issue isn't that I can't lose weight, it's that I keep gaining the weight back, and I got to figure out why. But I can't figure out why because there's so much noise in my life. I got to find some peace and some quiet and some silence so I can go into my own brain and dissect what the fuck is actually happening to my mindset and what I need to change. So I pulled out my phone again and I said, I've never been so sure that I'm going to lose this weight. And I'm going to lose 75 pounds in 6 months. Here we go. And I did. what I did was I built meals for myself that fit inside of my calorie goal. So I never had to count calories ever again. And people kept asking me what diet I was on when people would see me losing weight. And I was like, I'm not on a diet. And I would facetiously laugh and say, I'm on the common sense diet. And to me at the time, the common sense diet meant I don't want to count calories anymore because calorie counting is really obsessive. And I don't want to have to be thinking about what I'm eating and how many calories are in these different foods. So I just built meals for myself. I built 5 or 6 different meals because I recognized that I was always, even though I was eating bullshit, I was eating the same 5 or 6 meals on repeat anyway. The same way that you're probably eating the same 5 to 10 meals on repeat, even if some of it's total dog shit. Most of us eat the same things. So my idea was if I could just standardize and create what I call go-to meals and calculate how many calories are in them one time and then take a picture of it once I measure it out. And then the next time I go to make it, just look at the picture and make it the same way. And then over time, I could just eyeball everything because I know how to make the foods fit into my calorie goal without ever having to count or measure anything. So that concept was a major game changer for me. And I called it the common sense diet. Really, it was just this creation of go-to meals and standardizing on foods. And I wasn't eating super healthy foods. I was just eating the right amount of calories and the right amount of protein, right? Still a lot of protein bars, a lot of protein shakes, a lot of just things that fit my macros without me having to count. That worked really well. And I paired that with obsessive walking, 20 to 30,000 steps per day. Every single minute that I was not at work, I was walking or cooking or eating. Every single minute. No other prior commitments. I made it a point to not have any friends. I want to be alone. I'm doing this for me. I'm going to reemerge as this great, healthy version of myself. And I'm going to be skinny and I'm going to go out into the world and be the man that I've always wanted to be. So I did. And October 29th, 2019, I weighed in at 199 pounds. And being under 200 pounds for the first time in a couple years is the best feeling ever. I mean, what a fucking feeling. What a feeling to say, I am going to grab life by the balls. And I spoke it out into the world and I told everyone, I'm doing this move. I'm quitting my job. I'm going to lose 75 pounds in 6 months. And then I did. Holy fuck. That's one of the best feelings in the world. You say you're going to do something and then you do it. I'm the man. I'm the man, right? And I'm the man so much. I'm so proud of myself for losing weight for the 6th or 7th year in a row. And it felt different this time, and it felt so different that I want to celebrate. I want to celebrate. I made it. Goal achieved, brother. Cross that one off the list. And now I'm in this new city that I've lived in for 6 months, but I've never experienced the city. I've just been locked up, right? So I go out into the city of Portland, Oregon, and start making friends and start dating, celebrating with women, celebrating with more booze, more alcohol. And this is a lifestyle I've always wanted. I'm a single 25-year-old at this point, living in a big city for the first time. And I'm the guy that just lost 75 pounds in 6 months. Have you ever met someone that just lost 75 pounds in 6 months? There was an arrogance that came with that. And through about a month of celebrating, what I mean by celebrating is just quitting on everything that I had done, stopping exercising, stopping walking, back to eating bullshit, back to smoking weed, back to watching Netflix and drinking and doing all this shit that isn't actually serving. I had gained maybe 15 pounds back. And probably the most defeated I've ever felt. I'm looking in the mirror again. It's been a long time at this point since I've looked in the mirror. I'm looking in the mirror again and I had just accepted this for my life. Like, I will lose weight and gain weight every year, but I'll always have really great summers because I'll be skinny during the summer. And that's great. And I'll just have shitty winters, and that's fine because most people feel like shit all the time. I'll at least feel good for 3 or 4 months a year. And I accept this as my truth, and I accept this as my problem. I consciously thought, I accept this issue as mine. Most people don't even know what their issue is. At least I know my issue, and I accept my demons, right? That was my inner dialogue. And that night I'm laying in bed and I'm scrolling on YouTube looking at dumb shit. And I see this video of this guy that says something about, I lost 110 pounds. And I click on it. And it's this bald guy talking to this other bald guy screaming in the microphone going, I lost 110 pounds and then I ran 100-mile races and I blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I listened to the full podcast. I'm like, is that the Fear Factor guy, but with no hair? And the podcast episode was, it was David Goggins on Joe Rogan in 2019. And this guy's talking about his book. And I had never read a book before. I just cheated my way through middle school, high school, and college. I never even bought a textbook in college. And he's talking about his book. And I'm like, man, I should read this book about this guy that lost all this weight. And not a great reader. Let me get the audiobook, right? So I listened to this full audiobook. It was like maybe 9 or 10 hours long in one day. Again, take that obsessive personality, right? That same obsessiveness with video games that was taken into food, that was taken into booze, that was taken into women, that is now being taken into listening to a full audiobook in one day. And listen to this full story about this guy that grew up with an abusive father and was raised by a single mom and ate like shit, was fat as fuck, didn't know what he wanted for his life, didn't have great role models, and how he lost 110 pounds, became one of the most decorated ultra marathon distance runners in the world. And I'm listening to this whole book, right? And I finished the book at like midnight, and I'm laying there in bed going, that's the most bullshit story I've ever heard. Ever. It's like my body just couldn't accept it. I couldn't accept the story as real because this guy had accomplished everything that I had dreamed of accomplishing. And I wanted what he had so bad. I couldn't even accept that he had done that because it made me feel really defeated and like I couldn't do it. You know, so I just said, yeah, fuck that story. That guy was definitely on steroids. That guy's got great genetics. He probably played football in high school. He was an athlete when he was younger. So of course he's going to lose weight faster than me. And, all these different things, these excuses that I had for how he had achieved this thing that I couldn't achieve. And this, from me, that mindset came from the way that I grew up in a low income household, but I went to a wealthy school on scholarship. So I was always around kids that had a lot of money that were driving Lotuses and Hummers to school at 15 years old, and I never had a car. So I would compare myself to other people and be like, well, these kids have this thing because they come from money and I don't. These kids are healthy because they come from this and I don't. When I listened to David Goggins, I went, this guy has this thing because these things that I don't have. And I didn't feel like the story was true, and I just couldn't sleep. And I stayed up that whole night researching all the things that he talked about, all the races that he ran, finding pictures and videos of him from when he was fat. And I just realized that the story was true. And it was the first time in my life where I had ever been truly inspired. And I went, if I can embody 1% of what this guy did, it would change the world. It would change the lineage of my family. It would change the way that I feel about myself. It would change the way that other people feel about me. I would exceed all of the expectations that myself or the world has ever had from me as this guy that's been fucking lying to everyone forever, saying that I'm going to lose weight and then just never doing it or quitting and restarting or gaining the weight back forever. Like I could work through the hopelessness if I could just achieve 1% of what this guy did. So that next morning, I signed up to run a half marathon in Portland, and I had never ran a mile before. And I gave myself, it was maybe 6 weeks, like a month and a half to train. And I just ran on treadmills, and it sucked, and it was brutal. I'm overtraining. I've never ran a mile, and I've got a little over a month to run 13.1 miles. And I come into the race day feeling like what a crazy experience. Right. I've been fat my whole life, losing and gaining weight, never really worked out, never ran a mile besides the last month. And I'm at the starting line of a half marathon going, I don't know what's going to happen, And I ran these 13.1 miles in 2 hours and 10 minutes, which was one of the greatest moments of my entire life. I stress fractured my foot at mile 10, still finished that race. And during that race, I really tapped into the don't fucking quit, don't fucking quit, don't fucking quit type of energy, this masculine, this prove to myself, prove to the world, I can do this. I'm not a fat guy. I can run a half marathon. What kind of story would it be if my fat ass found a way to lose weight and then run a half marathon? How few people have done that. I'm different. That's like my mentality at this time, right? Prove to myself that I'm different and I'm worthy and I can. And I did. And I was in a boot for about a month and a half after that race because of my fractured foot. But when I crossed the finish line, it was the first time in my life where I had ever felt like I had a reason to not gain the weight back. And it was to run. Now I'm a runner, right? This, like, it's not a reason to be healthy, but a reason to not be fat. Running when you're fat is really hard. So I'm like, okay, great. Now I have a reason. I have a why. My why is now I want to keep running. And came out of that boot, signed up for another half marathon, ran it in an hour and 45 minutes with almost no training again because it was right after I came out of the boot. And for months after that, I'm just running like a bat out of hell. Like, I'm white David Goggins as far as I'm concerned, right? And over the next 3 or 4 months, I start ramping up to 30 plus mile weeks, which is a lot for somebody that had never really ran before. And I was going to sign up to run a marathon, but I was living in Portland, Oregon, and COVID happened. So if you're unfamiliar with the Northwest, it was basically illegal to go outside for like a year and a half when COVID happened in March of 2020. So I just kept running through COVID. I got to summer of 2020 and was like, I need to find a way to run a marathon. And there's this track at the Under Armour's headquarters in Portland. And I start looking it up. Okay, how can I run a marathon by myself? Because there's no races, right? I could do it at a track. If I just had some water, I wouldn't need anybody to be there with me. And track is a quarter of a mile. Marathon is 26.2 miles. So a marathon is 105 laps around the track. Is 26.25 miles exactly. So I'm okay, let's do it. And at this point, I have been eating such an unhealthy relationship with food. Everyone thinks that I'm this healthy guy because I lost all this weight and I'm not fat anymore. I'm not really skinny. I'm just normal, average looking, and still weak. Can't really do 3 push-ups, but I'm eating bullshit every day. And I'm to the point where I'm just eating 1 meal a day, but it's Red Robin delivered Whiskey River barbecue chicken sandwich. Put the mayo on the side so it's not soggy. Onions on the side so they're not soggy. No tomato. French fries, extra fries for free because it's Red Robin. Double appetizer of jalapeno coins, mozzarella sticks, 2 ranches, 1 barbecue, and a cheese sauce. And then I'd get Dairy Queen Blizzard delivered after that. And I'd do like a day of eating followed by a not day of eating, followed by 1 meal a day, followed by a 5,000 calorie meal, followed by 0. And then I would run 10 miles the next morning. And I do this again and again and again. And I wasn't gaining weight because I was burning so many calories. People say that you can't out-train a bad diet. Those people are not ultra distance runners. Yes, you can, but it's going to be your lifestyle. Most people aren't willing to commit to that, but I was, because I wanted to prove to myself, right? And that's how I was thinking. And still eating bullshit. At this point, I'm not really eating any healthy foods at all, mostly eating out. And I'm going to go run this marathon after one of my Red Robin binges the night before. And I get out to the track with 2 gallons of water and a fucking Oreo Quest bar and a little electrolyte packet. And I just start running. It's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon in Oregon in July. It'd be 95 degrees outside, no shade. And 105 laps, here we go. All alone. I get to mile 18. And I'm feeling pretty good. But there's this little pebble in my shoe. So I sit down to take the pebble out of my shoe, and I see my foot is really swollen. It doesn't look good. And I just thought, there's no fucking way that I'm putting this shoe back on. As soon as I sat down, the intensity of the pain that I had felt in my neck and my back and my shoulders, my knees, my ankles, my hips, my spine, my lungs were on fire. My heart was just burning. Immediately when I sat down, I felt this intensity and pain. And I just started crying. And I'm sitting there on the bench alone. There's nobody there because it's so fucking hot out in the middle of the day with no shade. And I'm just crying, just sunburned, crying. And I felt so much defeat. It was like the same defeat that I had felt of years of saying that I was going to lose weight and then quitting and then gaining the weight back again and again and again and again. And I just carried the shoe back to the car. I just left the track and I left my water and everything. I was like, fuck this, I don't even want it. And just started walking back to the track, just crying as like a 25, 26-year-old. And I just had this moment of remembering what it was like looking in the mirror at myself when I didn't recognize myself. And I connected with that so hard. Oh, And I had all these videos on my journey every day when I was losing weight. I was videoing myself, coaching myself through, right? If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen the videos of me when I was fat. That's because I was coaching myself through sustainability, because nobody does, right? We're all just talking about how to lose weight. Nobody talks about how to keep the weight off. So I got to coach myself through it, because nobody else is going to be able to coach me on it, because no one's fucking done it, right? Not naturally. And I just had this moment where I connected so much to every time I ever felt defeated. It triggered the fuck out of me. And I consciously said, I'll never forget saying to myself, I'm like, you get to decide. You get to decide who the fuck you're going to be. You can decide right now. Turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around, turn around. You got this. You got this. I'm here. I'm here. I got you, brother. I got you, son. I started closing my eyes, visualizing, what if I was to father myself through this moment? If I was my own dad right now, what would I say? I got you, son. I got you, son. I got you, son. Come on. You can do this. I'm right here with you. And I just turned around and I put the shoe on and I started running. And as I'm running, it's the most intense high I've ever felt, ever. I've got to go, I'm 70, 80 laps into this 105 lap thing. No one even knows I'm out here. Just sunburned as fuck. My piss is brown. My piss is literally the color of shit, because my kidneys were so fucked up because I'm so dehydrated. And I'm running, and as I'm running, all of my insecurities and every negative emotion, oh God, it gives me chills telling this story. Every negative emotion that I'd ever felt, everything that ever led to my own obesity, all of the disgust that I felt in my own life, all of the shit that I felt around growing up with a single mom, all the self-doubt that I ever had, and all the times I ever quit on myself, they were coming at me like Star Wars credits. And the only way that I could keep running was if I dealt with every single one of them at a time. And as I'm running, I'm coming to terms with all the things that led to my own obesity in the first place. And I realized that I never addressed any of those things. And it was the most emotional moment of my life, And and I finished this race. I finished this 105 laps around the track alone. And it was just the most blissful experience of my life. I've never felt so proud of myself. And, yeah. And so I just kept running, and I'm white knuckling weight loss, because I'm still eating like shit. And I'm still not really taking care of myself, but I'm running so much it doesn't really matter, And I had this opportunity to move across the country to Des Moines, Iowa. And I took that opportunity. It was great for my career. And I moved out to Iowa, had some great running in Iowa, ran my first ultra marathon, a 50K out in Iowa. I'm there for a little over a year. And I'm like, I'm going through these old videos from when I was fat. And I'm like, I just have such a great ability to tell a story here, because I've never seen somebody that had these videos like this. And my idea was, I'm going to run a 100-mile ultra marathon. I'm going to be the third person in the world that I could ever find. The first is David Goggins. The second is this guy that didn't really talk about it online. And then me, that have lost 100 pounds and then ran a 100-mile race. But I'm going to be the youngest one by like 10 years. So I'm going to hire a documentary crew that's going to film me training to run a 100-mile ultra marathon. And then I'm going to sell that to Netflix. And that's going to be my coming out story. What a vision, right? And I just connected with that every day. I'd visualize that again and again and again. Visualize myself as at the finish line of a 100-mile race with my middle fingers up in the air. Fuck you to the world and everyone that ever told me that I was fat, and everyone that ever treated me like shit, and my old fat self. And there was like this war. It's like me, my healthy mind versus my fat mind, right? And I wanted to go to where all the runners were. And that was Austin, Texas. It's like, how am I going to get to Austin, right? My job wouldn't get me there, so I'm going to leave that job. And I did. Quit, moved again, reinvent myself again. What I loved about Iowa was when I moved there, it was the first time where nobody knew me as the weight loss guy. So I'm not telling people that I lost weight. Now they just know me as Nick, because when I'm living in Portland, I'm this guy that just lost all this weight and used to be fat. But now that I'm in Iowa, now I can just practice being Nick, not the ex-fat guy, just Nick Geoppo, right? And then I moved down to Austin, and I'm like, I'm going to run 100-mile races, and I'm signed up to run. This was summer of 2022. So at this point, I'd, been white-knuckling weight loss through excessive cardio and exercise for like 3 years. And moved down here to Austin, Texas, summer of 2022, and signed up to run a 50-mile race, give myself 6 months to train, ran my fucking ass off, was so ready, best shape of my life. Again, not healthy. I'm partying on the weekends. I'm drinking booze. I'm doing dumb shit, but I'm eating the right amount of food. I've stopped the whole binging thing that I had been doing when I was in Portland a couple years back. And I'm just eating, again, I'm back to my go-to meal idea, right? Of like standardizing on meals, eating like 3,000 calories a day because of how much I'm running and just maintaining weight. But I'm really lean, vascular. I'm a runner now. I'm a real runner. And I'm 1 week out from this 50-mile race, and I didn't have a doctor in Austin. And I'm like, well, surely I'm going to probably be hurting after this race and maybe need to see a doctor. Let's establish some care just in case something happens. And when I go into my doctor, I, see a 250-pound doctor. And at this point, I've just got an issue with fat doctors because of the experience that I had before. And I go in to see the doctor who says, you're running all these miles. Let's give you an ECG, right? An echocardiogram. And he connects all these stickers to my chest. 10 seconds later, looks me dead in the eye and goes, you need to get heart surgery. And my first thought is, I'm so fucking sick of fat doctors telling me how to take care of myself. And I'm like, why do I need heart surgery? And he tells me that I have this condition called Wolff-Parkinson's-White syndrome, which is an electrical issue that I've one too many electrical circuits in my heart. So I'm prone to exercise-induced cardiac arrest, where I have a 1% for every year of life chance of randomly dying and nobody would know why I died. And I had to make the decision of, do I want to get heart surgery? And the most likely outcome is that everything is fine and that I'm 100% cured, and no doctor would ever even be able to tell that I had the operation because it's 100% curable. The second most likely option is that they're unable to cure my condition and that I develop the symptoms that I never had. I was asymptomatic my whole life, which is how it was never detected until I was in my upper 20s. And I'm thinking, well, there's no way that I'm going to be out running a 10 to 20 hour race and being afraid of just dying. So I'm not going to live with that anxiety. Let's skip the surgery. So I go see 2 more cardiologists that week. This is 1 week before the race that I moved to Austin to run, right? And they both said I had to get the surgery. So that's my life, man. That's my life. Everything that I did to get here, all the risks that I took moving across the country twice, all this weight that I lost, all the miles that I ran, all the telling everyone that I'm going to do this, and now I have to get heart surgery. Just another thing, right, for me to overcome. I felt really defeated. So race is off, 50-mile race is off, already paid for everything, already had everything reserved, had the crew all set up. And I've got a 1-month waiting list for surgery, 6-7 week recovery. And I come out of the operation cured successfully. This was January of 2023. And I come out of that operation running, right? After recovery. And running was just never the same. Though I'm cured, there's this reality to your heart being physically touched and operated on that it just doesn't feel the same when you get 2 to 3 hours into a run. The lungs feel a little different. The chest feels a little different. It doesn't impact me day to day years later, but getting into excessive cardio, the passion for it, the drive for it isn't there anymore. And it's quite anxiety provoking actually when you get 10, 15 miles into a run. So I just quit because at this point I'm all or nothing. I've been all or nothing my whole life. I'm not going to run a couple miles here and there. I'm going to run 50 miles a week, or I'm not going to run at all. I'm not going to lose 1 to 2 pounds a week. I'm going to lose 4 to 5 pounds a week, or I'm not going to lose weight at all. I'm all or nothing. I'm on my diet or I'm off my diet. I'm on my exercise routine or I'm off my exercise routine. No balance at all. Never in the middle, right? And I just quit. I quit. And I'm sitting there in my apartment, February of 2023, going, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, how am I going to level? What am I even going to focus on? Or what's my new identity? You know, from gamer to fat guy to food issue guy to alcohol guy to a guy that wanted to spend time with women and obsess about dating and relationships, and to ultra runner, to what? To what now? Now I'm just living in this city, making $100,000 a year, like setting myself up for this retirement at 60 years old. Like, for what? Like, I don't even understand why I'm on this planet anymore. And it's not that I wanted to die. It's that I didn't want to live. I didn't have a reason to live. In my head, I'm like, my whole reason, this Netflix documentary was my sole focus, and now it's just taken from me. And I realized, okay, what if I started optimizing my health a little more? Because I'm eating the right amount of food, but I'm not eating great food. And I still don't have a very good relationship with food. I'm still really all or nothing with stuff. So I started looking at what is everything that I'm doing in my life that's not helping me be healthy. Not skinny, but healthy, right? Started evaluating all the people that I'm spending time with. Okay, who are the friends that I can only drink with? Got to get rid of them. I just cut people out of my life. I'm going back into isolation, baby. Like, I'm back to trying to level up as quickly as I can. What's the next phase of my life? I want to quantum leap into the next version of myself so that I can figure out why the fuck I'm on this planet, because now I got to find a new reason, right? And I dumped a lot of people on great terms. I just stopped spending time with people that didn't feel aligned anymore, and started spending a lot more time alone. Started working on my relationship with food. Started going, okay, I had some fear of gaining the weight back even 3 or 4 years later, because now I can't run anymore. And I'd always tied running to maintaining results, right? So now I've got to really dial in eating appropriate portions, feeling better in my body. So I started researching, okay, who are the people online that are eating healthy foods? I started getting into Paul Saldino. He eats a lot of meat and fruit. That logically makes sense, right? Maybe I should eat more meat and fruit. So I started that concept of go-to meals that I called the common sense diet. I started writing everything down. I wrote down common sense diet. What is the common sense approach to nutrition? It's whole, real, and natural foods for a couple of reasons. One is because they're typically lower calorie, high in protein, but they also make you feel way more satiated. They also help you control cravings and a bunch of vitamins and minerals and nutrients that we don't want to obsess over. But common sense, we just know they're better for us, right? Common sense diet. I don't like cooking. I only eat things that take less than 10 minutes to prepare. Great. Common sense diet. I want to enjoy food, so I never eat foods that I don't like just because they're healthy. Well, that makes, I just started writing things down, right? And I started writing down every single issue I'd ever ran into that led to me gaining the weight back. Social situations, discomfort around social situations, thinking about food too much, my unhealthy mindset, being all or nothing, a plateau. When I'd lose weight in the past, feel like I was doing everything right, but I wouldn't lose weight for 3 or 4 days, so I'd try to undereat to make up for it, or just quit entirely and restart again on Monday, the first of the month, or the start of the year, again and again and again, my whole fucking life. And I just wrote things down, how to work through a craving, how to do things even when you're not motivated. And I just started practicing. And I started writing down what I would eat. And then I would write down how I felt after I ate it. So, protein pizza, feel good while I eat it, feel kind of weirdly bloated afterwards. McDonald's Big Mac with a protein bar on the way home, like feel like shit, bloated, lethargic, but right amount of calories, still feel bad. Beef stir fry with beef and rice and a side of fruit with some onions, like feel great, amazing, satiated. And I started focusing less on how foods made me feel when I ate them and more on how foods made me feel after I ate them. And I went, common sense, my body actually knows the answers to a lot of this stuff. And at this point, I have extreme self-accountability that I didn't have when I was fat because I'd been running for so long, right? And through all this running, I just learned how to coach myself through things because I had been my own running coach for years. So I took that mindset and put it into coaching myself on not weight loss, but on nutrition and properly what it feels like to feel like a fucking human. And I made that transition to eating mostly whole and natural foods, and my whole life changed. Within 2 months, there's no food noise. I never thought about food again. I mean, a normal amount, like a normal person with a healthy relationship with food. And I went, oh my God, there's this whole other way of living that I had never even considered. And fat people have no idea. They have no idea because we're just trying to count calories our ass to weight loss. But we're missing the whole point and we're stuck in this diet culture mindset. And I stopped dieting. I stopped calling the common sense diet a diet. I started telling people that I was just prioritizing my health. And I did it by existing in this system called the common sense system. And I just built out every single week I wrote down something else that I was working on, and I changed my lifestyle to default to healthy habits. And within a couple months, it didn't take me any discipline to keep the weight off, even though I wasn't running, because I changed my baseline habits. I started naturally doing healthy things. The same way that I brush my teeth naturally in the morning and at night, even when I don't feel like it, even when I'm sad and emotional and want to cope with some bullshit. It's not like am I going to brush my teeth or not? You just do it, right? And that's what healthy eating became for me. That's what healthy, non-obsessive exercise became for me. And then I started going, okay, well, I don't want to restrict myself from all the things that I love. So I have to be able to eat a normal serving of bullshit when there's a celebration. So I started practicing eating celebratory foods only celebratorily and sitting with the discomfort of wanting more. Did it for a couple months, and then I never wanted more anymore. Just want a normal portion, like normal people that were never fat, that always had healthy relationships with food. And I reinvented my whole fucking life through what I was eating with extreme intentionality. It was so simple. I made it so stupidly simple for myself with this process that I built that I call the Common Sense System on the Common Sense Diet. And I've been on a version of this with the go-to meal thing for almost 6 years now, right? And I'm like, great, figured that out. And I'm getting through halfway of 2023, and I'm happy that I've made this transition. My skin looks different. I look like a holistic health guy. My acne has gone away. I just look more alive. My eyes look more alive than they have before. And I just felt really healthy. But I was really fucking lonely because I'd cut everyone out of my life, and I'd been in the pseudo-isolatory phase again, right? Trying to up-level by not surrounding myself with people that don't share in the same direction, in the same passion for wanting to move up the way that I did at the time. And I'm just lonely, bro. Lonely. And I get to November, December of 2023. And the part that I'm leaving out is throughout 2023, I was taking those old videos from when I was fat, and I'd post them on Instagram, with me now for like 6 or 7 days in a row, and then nobody would watch them, and then I would just quit. And then I would post them again, and nobody would watch them, and then I would just quit. And I did it again and again. And it was the same thing that I would do when I was trying to lose weight: start a diet and then quit, start a diet and then quit. It would trigger the fuck out of me and make me lose respect for myself, right? Again, this is now 5 years after I've lost weight, still dealing with some of the mindset stuff that I had never fully addressed. And I get to December of 2023, and I went to this yoga festival, and not like anything I'd ever done up to that point. And I had a really intense connection with a woman at this festival. And after 2 or 3 days of spending time with her, she looks me dead in the eye and goes, "Have you ever considered sharing your story?" And when she said it, it lit my whole spine up. I went, "What the fuck did you just say?" And it was like, it wasn't even her. It was like God, the universe, spoke to me through her. And in that moment, I had felt what it would have been like to have that Netflix style documentary to watch it. And of me running the 100-mile race, I'd felt what it had been like for me to had not quit on posting on Instagram and just kept doing it the way that I said that I would. And it was like I lived a full lifetime of, oh my God, I did the things that I said I was going to do. And it just activated in me this knowing. When I received that, it was this knowing, God, the world just spoke to me through this woman, and this is what I'm supposed to do. Stop quitting. The same way you quit your whole life on trying to lose weight. Do it sustainably, do it the right way. And the next day, 12 hours later, go to Best Buy, bought this microphone that you're looking at right now, launched episode 1 of the podcast, I told my story, a shorter version of it. And then I launched episode 2 and episode 3, and I went, okay, well, no one's listening to these podcasts, right? I got to get on Instagram and TikTok. I've just got to do it. I've got these old videos. I just do it. And so I pulled out my phone and I go, I'm feeling a lot of resistance to posting content on Instagram and TikTok, but it's the same resistance that I felt when I was fat as fuck and just felt like I should be losing weight, but didn't want to do it, didn't know how to do it. And so I'm just posting this as day 1 on my social media journey. Feels like day 1 of my weight loss journey. Posted it. Nobody watches it. How stupid, right? Day 2, I pick up the phone and I say, when I was fat as fuck, I wish someone told me to just start with eating more real, whole, natural foods because you're going to feel better, you're going to look better, you're going to have less cravings, it's going to change your life. Just do that. Posted it. No one watches it. Right? My friends from high school are messaging me like, what the fuck are you posting? And I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? Day 3, I pull out my phone. I say, when I was fat as fuck, someone told me that losing weight wouldn't make me happy, but that person was never fat. And what they didn't tell me was that when you lose weight and actually put it behind you, you make space for all of the things in your life that you actually want to focus on. And that will absolutely make you happy. So fuck them. Posted it. Woke up the next morning. All of the videos were viral. And every reel that I posted from then on was 500,000, million, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million. And I just get blown through the glass ceiling of social media and attention in a way that is so unnatural for a human to experience, right? And at this point in my life, I'm like, I've got thousands of people DMing me, Nick, I need help with this. Like, can you help me with this thing? And I'm going, oh my God, yeah, and I'm just I'm helping everyone that DMs me. I just become a full-time DM guy. And at this point in my life, I just feel unstoppable. It's like I'm so tapped into this bluntness, this realness, this showing people the reality of what it actually took me to overhaul my entire life, and trying to help encourage and guide other people, motivate other people, be a representation of the idea to other people that you can change, that you don't have to be fat, that you can do it naturally, because I never thought that I could. And then I did, and I don't have anything you didn't have, right? And that was my framework and my messaging, and people resonated with it so much. And it felt so fucking good. It felt so good to be living this version of me that I'd been fantasizing about. It's like I skipped ahead. This was the Netflix documentary equivalent happening in real time, even though I stopped running, couldn't run, right? And I combined this with the intensity and the magic of the relationship that I was in with this woman that I met at the yoga festival. And I just felt unstoppable. I felt like God was working through me, fucking spirit, the universe was working through me, and everything that I touch is gold, right? It's gold. And I find myself in these rooms of here in Austin, what we call spiritual community. But I find myself in these rooms of these entrepreneurial, spiritual people. They're talking about things like past lives and meditation, breathwork, mindfulness, yoga, and presence. And as I'm spending time with these people, I've recognized that all of these things felt really natural to me, because without having the language to what I was doing, I had actually been practicing all of these things for years through weight loss. And I unintentionally found spirituality through weight loss. I found presence through ultra running. I found sitting with discomfort and knowing who I am by breaking myself down to a piece of sand through running 105 laps around a track with no music until I was so runner's high I didn't know what world I was in. Right? I found manifestation and visualization through imagining myself as healthy, through imagining myself, trying to picture the version of myself that had a healthy relationship with food, that felt good in his own body. I learned inner child healing by pretending being my own dad and fathering myself through how I would coach myself if I had a dad to do that and a role model to do that for me. And I felt really at home. And I felt here's a community. Here's the community that I've been looking for, that was right in front of my face, but I didn't know. And I started to become really, really comparative. The fat mind started coming back in a way that I didn't know was still inside of me. And all the insecurities that I felt when I was fat, I'm not good enough, right? I started feeling like I'm not good enough to be in the rooms of these people because I don't speak all the same lingo, have all the same language. I've never gone into Ecuador and done a fucking trip or whatever the fuck, right? But I've lived this life. I've done these things, and I've done so much work on myself. But I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm working some job that I hate. And what am I going to do? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prove my worthiness, because my whole fucking life, the only fuel I ever used was the fuel of not feeling good enough. I'm going to lose weight because I'm not good enough. I'm going to lose weight because I'm going to prove to my dad that he shouldn't have left. I'm going to lose weight because I'm going to prove to myself. I'm going to prove to the world. I'm going to prove that I'm not enough as I am, but I will be once I prove it. And I'm in these rooms of people going, I'm going to fucking prove to these people that I belong here. I'm going to prove to these people that I can change the world. I'm going to prove to these people that I can have massive impact and influence, and that I can help people through this thing that I put myself through, overhauling my whole life, my relationship with food. And I'm going to help them do it in a way that's so stupidly simple that they're not even going to understand how the fuck things are changing so fast in their lives, because I see all of the shortcuts that I never had access to, and I put myself through all the bullshit. And I'm like, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to represent the idea that ordinary people are capable of extraordinary things. I'm going to be the face of natural weight loss. That's what I was thinking, and I'm going to show people the reality of making changes over time instead of overhauling everything at once. I'm going to talk about sustainability. I'm only going to teach people sustainability. Nobody needs me to lose weight. They just need a representation of someone that can do it sustainably, because I never had that. So my frame became, no one was talking about relationship with food. No one was talking about sustainability and weight loss. Nobody was talking about lifestyle changes over dieting. So my idea was to become that person that I never had, that I needed. And that's the highest good that I can imagine. It still is the highest good that I can imagine. It's literally my life mission, to become the person that I needed, become the father that I needed to my future children, become the person talking about sustainability and weight loss and coaching sustainability and weight loss that I needed, that never existed. Had they, I wouldn't have gone through all the bullshit the way that I did, And I really connected with, and still am connected with, that idea. But initially, that idea came from me not feeling like enough, because I wanted to prove that I could do that to these other people that had done similar things in their own domain. So I grew really, insecure isn't the right word. I just became so used to not accepting love. I couldn't accept the love from this woman because I just felt like I wasn't deserving of it, because the only fuel that I knew how to use to have massive output was negativity. My whole life was very negative. I always hated myself. I always hated that I lied to myself, and that I lied to everyone, and hated how much of my life I wasted. So I used all that fuel, that negativity, to convert into positive action to help other people and to help myself, and to prove to other people that I belonged. And I left that relationship. I just couldn't accept it. I could not accept the care and the love. I didn't feel worthy of it. And I left, and I went into isolation again. In April, May, and I just went into the lab, started writing things down, write down everything that I changed. What's the simplest way to coach someone through this? If I was to coach someone, there was my old fat self standing right in front of me right now, all the bullshit that he ever tried to lose weight and gain it back, what does he need? What's the simplest path forward with all the bullshit that I put myself through? And I built it. I called it the common sense system. I'm going to build a business, and my coaching program and business and platform in the common sense system is going to help people rewire their brains, their relationship with food, and the way they feel about sustainability and weight loss. This is designed to be the last day one people ever have in their entire life. And I just locked myself in a room for 2 months. I built it, the whole thing. And then I launched a business, and then I started coaching people. And now I'm coaching now. It's been 5 or 6 months, and I've been coaching people through, oh my God, if I could take this feeling and put it in a fucking pill and give it to you, I'd be the richest person in the world. If I could take the feeling of the healing that I receive through helping someone through all of the bullshit that it took me years to figure out, and helping them through the mindset issues, working through the fat mind, putting end to the war of the fat mind versus the healthy mind, finding peace, coming from a place of love in a way that I never fully had been until now, until this year, and it's been so rewarding and so beautiful and so healing for me, for my inner fat guy, for my guy that feels like I wasted my whole life. When I'm helping someone, when I see the progress of any of the people that I worked with initially, right? My first initial clients, Debbie, Mari, James, Abigail, Denise, there's so many more, right? You're the names that are coming to mind right off the bat. To see the changes that y'all have made makes all this bullshit that I put myself through so worth it for me. It makes it so worth it for me, and y'all are so inspiring to me. And that brings us to That brings us to December. It brings us to December of 2024. And the biggest thing that I'm working on now is continuing to come from a place of love instead of from a place of not feeling like enough. And to practice reminding myself that love is not something to be earned. Sometimes it feels like unconditional love is for women and dogs only. And though maybe elements of that are true, the one thing that I've learned through weight loss is that we get to choose what we believe about ourselves. So I choose to believe that that is not the truth. And a lot of how I've rewired that is through mantras and how I speak to myself. This is a lot of what I coach as well. How I speak to myself to control my inner dialogue, because my words dictate my thoughts, dictate my actions in the loop, right? So the way to work through the loop to live a healthy lifestyle and feel better about it, because you'll never stick to something that you don't feel good about, is to change the physical words you say about yourself, but never lie. Meaning never look in the mirror when you're depressed and say, I'm happy, or I love myself. If you don't love yourself, never look in the mirror and say, I love myself. I used to try that shit all the time. Look in the mirror and say, I don't love myself, but I want to love myself. And I feel that I would love myself if I had more self-respect. And I potentially would have some more self-respect if I started eating healthier foods in healthier portions to feel better in my own body. So through the journey of losing weight, I will develop self-love. And combine those two things together so you can work on both at the same time. Yeah, that's what I did. Weight loss was the path for me. It was. Being fat is the best thing that ever happened to me. If you're fat, you have the golden ticket. Everything you're looking for it's not on the other side. It's in the journey of addressing this one thing that you have not fully addressed the way that it's meant to be addressed sustainably, the right way. All the money in my job, right, that I was working until earlier this year, all the confidence, all of the speaking ability, the storytelling ability, all of this was found in who I became through the journey of addressing these things. And you deserve to have that. And you can, but back to the mantra thing, one of the most impactful things for me has been morning mantras. This has been a practice just for the last 6 months or so. But I told you that I choose what I believe. So I wake up every morning and this is what I say before I get out of the bed. I choose a big life. I choose positive impact and influence. I choose legacy, to be remembered as someone who didn't quit and someone who always told the truth. I choose true financial and locational freedom. I choose magic and adventure. I choose irrational positivity. I choose compassionate decisiveness. Everything I choose is already inside me. Everything I choose is already inside of me. Everything I choose is already inside of me. And the reason I say that is because I'm not pulling these things in, I'm pushing them out. The way that I lost weight and kept it off was by living the lifestyle of a healthy person. I used to think that I would be healthy after I lost weight, but I had it backwards, flip it around. You have to be healthy to lose weight. Pretend to be a healthy person, because when you pretend to be something, you'll learn that you're not actually pretending. You're not pulling it out of thin air. You're pushing it out of yourself. What you've been doing your whole life is pretending. You living unhealthy is pretending. You eating bullshit and drinking booze every Friday and Saturday, sleeping in, watching Netflix, that's pretending. That's not who you really are. You're hiding from who you really are. The way to figure out who you really are is to start pretending like the version of yourself that you want to be, because you created that version of yourself in your mind. Live like them for a fucking month and recognize that's who you actually fucking are. That's what manifestation is, right? All these spiritual concepts, they're true, and you can learn them through weight loss. I learned them through weight loss without having the language to it. You can do the same thing. And I add on to that after I say everything I'm looking for is already inside me. I say, I deserve unconditional love. I have love for myself, and I receive love from the world with open arms. I deserve unconditional love. I have love for myself, and I receive love from the world with open arms. I have nothing to prove because I know who I am, the champion. And when you say any version of something like that that resonates with you, you cannot eat a bag of Doritos afterwards. Your body won't let you. It won't let you. This is how I've learned how to motivate myself, how to connect with my why, how to connect with what I fucking want for my life, how to live like the version of myself that is going after, that's already done the things that it is that I'm working towards doing. how to live as the version of myself that is the healthy father that I never had, that is the role model to his children that I never had. How to live as the version of myself that chooses positive impact and influence and legacy and does that by helping other people lose weight in a way that's actually sustainable so they can get rid of the food noise, come to terms with who they are, what they want in their own lives, stop seeing the world through the lens of their own obesity by working on their relationship with food and in turn addressing your relationship with yourself because they're the same fucking thing. So they can feel better in their own bodies and stop thinking about being fat and weight loss and I should be and actually do it in a way that you put it behind you. How would a guy that dedicated his life to that live? What would he do day to day? What would he wake up? What time would he wake up? What would he do first thing in the morning? How would he show up on this podcast? How would he speak to you, the audience of this podcast, over an hour into this show? What would I be talking about over an hour into this show as somebody that desires the betterment of the human race through positive impact from my own story? I would show up the exact way that I'm showing up right now. I'm so oriented to my mission and what I want that I take the things that I'm doing and I go, does this make sense for the version of myself that I'm saying I want to be? And then the more I live like that guy, the more I become that guy. It's the same way that I lost weight. What would a healthy person do in this situation? If I was healthy when I'm fat, if I was healthy, what would I do here? And then you do that. You just live like the healthy person, even when you're fat, and then you become the healthy person. And everyone wants to know what fucking diet you're on and tell them you're on the common sense diet and you're prioritizing your health. That's what sustainable weight loss is. Build a system for yourself that you can do forever. If you can't do it for life, don't do it to lose weight. Build a system for yourself that you can do forever. Work on your mindset and make sustainable lifestyle changes over time instead of trying to rush it and be perfect. Practice balance in relationship with food. If you need a system to do that, if you don't have one right now that you feel really good about, and you want to try the common sense system and the common sense diet or talk to me about it, you can go ahead and either message me or click the link in my bio to book a call with me directly, and I'll walk you through all of the details and we'll see if it's right for you. And if it isn't, I'll do all that I can to point you in the right direction of something that I think might help. If it is, then we can explore doing it together. If you take away anything from this podcast episode, I hope it's that nobody's perfect. And I still have shit that I'm dealing with as you've heard in this episode, right? And that anyone can lose weight. Everyone already has lost weight. Weight loss doesn't mean anything. All that matters is the sustainability in what we're doing. My whole life I was trying to lose weight because it just felt good to make progress. I never actually addressed the sustainability of what I was doing. Focus on the sustainability. Build a system for yourself that you can exist in for life that is non-obsessive, and change your baseline habits so that you don't have to be thinking about it all the time. And that's the path. That's the difference between the people that lose weight and gain it back versus the people that lose weight and keep it off by still staying in a super restrictive diet, right? So the current diet culture is carnivore, keto, Weight Watchers, all this kind of shit. The people that are in those things, even the people that keep the weight off, still exist with a lot of food noise, meaning they're still thinking about how many calories are in this, how many calories are in that, how many calories am I burning, what time am I eating? Like, that's not what I wanted. I wanted freedom from food. Let freedom ring from my mind to my body. I wanted freedom from it all. I wanted to just stop thinking about it. And the people that do that are the people that have systems for themselves in place that are easy to follow and simple and don't fucking suck. I hope you also take away that ordinary people are absolutely capable of doing extraordinary things. I didn't have shit. I had no money, no health, horrible genetics, horrible relationship, no father. You know, you don't need anything to lose weight. You don't need a fucking gym membership. You don't need money. You don't need anything. You need a really strong why, and you need a fucking plan, and you need accountability to stick to the plan. If you made it to the end of the episode, happy 1 year anniversary to the followers that have been with us since the first few episodes. And I really appreciate your support and for relating to so much of my story, and for telling me the parts that you relate with, and for you guys giving me the platform to be so vulnerable and to share these deepest, darkest parts of my life, that are hard to share. I hope that you feel more empowered to share your story, because these are things that can be hard to talk about. People don't like to talk about them. I hope you feel more empowered, and I hope that you feel like you have at least a 1% chance of keeping the weight off this time, because you do.